911, what is your emergency? What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Hello?
In the town of Crestwood, the brutal murder of Lisa Canfield sent shockwaves through the community. As investigators delved into the twisted events, a disturbing tale of manipulation and betrayal unfolded. At the heart of the tragedy was 18-year-old Sabrina Zunich, a troubled foster child, and her foster father, Kevin Canfield.
Were you and Lisa in the process of going through a divorce?
Okay, now we're getting outside the scope.
Are you going to talk to us about any of the situations that led up to what happened?
Sabrina, driven by a longing for affection and feeling neglected by Kevin, stood accused of stabbing her foster mother approximately 200 times.
My sister, and I just woke up because I heard yelling.
Okay, this is your sister?
Yeah, and she's doing my mom with a knife.
But Sabrina's testimony would reveal a sinister web of deceit, alleging Kevin's manipulation and involvement in the heinous crime. The truth, shrouded in darkness, awaited its day in court. In the quiet town of Riverton, a seemingly ordinary family was about to unravel in the most horrifying way. Lisa Canfield, a kind-hearted woman, had taken in 18-year-old Sabrina Zunich as her foster daughter, offering her love and stability. Unbeknownst to Lisa, her husband Kevin Canfield had been engaging in a secret relationship with Sabrina. Sabrina had long yearned for Kevin's attention, but as time went on, he began to distance himself from her. Feeling neglected and abandoned, she spiraled into a dark abyss of resentment and desperation. Consumed by these emotions, Sabrina's fragile psyche slowly crumbled, leading her down a path of unimaginable violence. One fateful night, the fragile balance in the Canfield household shattered forever. In a fit of rage and anguish, Sabrina unleashed her pent-up emotions upon her foster mother Lisa, stabbing her approximately 200 times. The brutal and merciless attack resulted in Lisa's tragic death, leaving behind a community in shock and despair. Sabrina, in a desperate attempt to escape the reality of her heinous actions, detectives diligently worked to unravel the truth hidden behind the layers of deception. The courtroom was tense as Sabrina Zunich took the stand, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear, guilt, and newfound determination. As she began to recount her relationship with Kevin Canfield, the truth emerged. Sabrina described how her relationship with Kevin started innocently enough, with friendly conversations and shared interests. Kevin's manipulation tactics were insidious. He played on Sabrina's insecurities, convincing her that she was the only one who truly understood him. He carefully crafted a narrative in which Lisa Canfield was portrayed as an obstacle. As he isolated Sabrina emotionally from Lisa, she grew increasingly dependent on Kevin's validation. With each passing day, Kevin's influence over Sabrina grew stronger. He convinced her that their relationship was not only acceptable, but also necessary. He fed her illusions of a future together, promising to provide for her once Lisa was out of the picture. Sabrina, desperate for love and acceptance, fell deeper into his web of deceit. It was within this toxic dynamic that Kevin planted the seeds of murder. Using his manipulative prowess, he gradually convinced Sabrina that the only way they could be together was if Lisa was eliminated. The night of the murder became a blur of emotions and chaos for Sabrina. Consumed by a toxic cocktail of anger, desperation, and the belief that this was her only path to love, she carried out Kevin's sinister plan, plunging a knife into Lisa's unsuspecting body again and again. In the aftermath of the crime, Sabrina's fragile mind clung to the only defense mechanism it knew: denial. Faking memory loss and denying involvement allowed her to temporarily escape the unbearable weight of her actions. But as the investigation progressed, the truth slowly clawed its way to the surface, unraveling the twisted manipulation orchestrated by Kevin Canfield.
They stabbed Lisa Canfield to death with the cooperation and planning with Kevin Canfield.
Sabrina's testimony on the stand shattered the facade Kevin had so carefully constructed. The courtroom listened in horror as she detailed the depths of his manipulation and control. She spoke of the countless hours spent under his influence, the psychological bondage that kept her ensnared, and the promises he made to ensure her loyalty even after the deed was done. While Sabrina's testimony provided a glimpse into the dark underbelly of Kevin's manipulation, it was a double-edged sword. The defense seized upon her vulnerability, attempting to discredit her as an unreliable witness, claiming that she had willingly participated in the crime and was now trying to shift blame. As the trial reached its conclusion, the jury faced the daunting task of untangling the web of deceit and manipulation, ultimately reaching a verdict that acknowledged the manipulation Sabrina had endured, but also held her accountable for her actions. The twisted manipulation unveiled during the trial left a lasting impact on the community. The tragedy of Sabrina Zunich and Lisa Canfield served as a haunting reminder that manipulation can have devastating consequences, tearing lives apart and leaving scars that may never fully heal. As the investigation deepened, the detectives grew suspicious of Kevin Canfield, noting his troubled relationship with Lisa and the substantial life insurance policy he held on her. Kevin's own questionable behavior and secrecy raised red flags, suggesting a possible motive for his involvement in the crime. Kevin had been known to lead a double life, concealing his affair with Sabrina Zunich from his wife Lisa. This clandestine relationship was a clear violation of trust, and it hinted at a deeper level of deceit that would later come to light. Furthermore, Kevin's troubled relationship with Lisa was no secret within their social circles. There were frequent arguments and instances of emotional distance between the couple. Adding to the mounting concerns, investigators discovered that Kevin held a substantial life insurance policy on Lisa. This revelation raised eyebrows and led detectives to question whether financial gain played a role in Lisa's untimely demise. However, it was Sabrina's sudden change of heart that provided the breakthrough the detectives desperately needed. Overwhelmed with guilt and burdened by the weight of her actions, Sabrina decided to testify against Kevin, alleging his manipulation and direct involvement in the murder. She claimed that he had exploited her feelings of neglect, promising her support and affection in exchange for the unthinkable act of murder. In her fragile state, Sabrina fell prey to Kevin's cunning manipulation, becoming nothing more than a pawn in his twisted game. The court proceedings that followed were a battle of words and emotions. The prosecution, on the other hand, argued that Sabrina was a victim herself, a victim of Kevin's calculated and predatory actions. As the trial reached its climax, the jury weighed the evidence presented before them. The court's decision would determine the fate of both Sabrina and Kevin, as the community anxiously awaited justice for Lisa Canfield. In the end, the jury delivered their verdict. The case of Sabrina Zunich, Lisa Canfield, and Kevin Canfield reached its conclusion with a mix of closure, disbelief, and lingering questions. Sabrina's testimony against Kevin shed light on a twisted manipulation that had driven her to commit a heinous act. However, as the trial unfolded, the jury reached a surprising verdict. Sabrina was found guilty of second-degree murder, her actions recognized as a result of manipulation and coercion. In a stunning turn of events, Kevin Canfield was acquitted of all charges, leaving many perplexed and dissatisfied with the outcome. The courtroom drama underscored the complexities of the case. The tragic story of Sabrina, Lisa, and Kevin serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of manipulation and the devastating consequences it can have on the lives of those involved. While the case reached its conclusion, the scars left behind would take time to heal. The memory of Lisa Canfield, whose life was tragically cut short, would be forever etched in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. The tale of Sabrina Zunich and Kevin Canfield would continue to provoke conversations and reflections on the darker aspects of human nature and the fragility of trust.